Hello, folks, and welcome back to Learn Synthesis with VCV Rack. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore of the Wayfarer project. And in this episode, we are continuing to look at the KautenjaDSP modules for VCV Rack. They are free modules, and VCV Rack being free itself, if you like what you hear in this, you should download them. We're going to be focusing on the Boss Flight module, which is similar to the modules we did last time in episode 8 of series 3. That module was the mini boss, which is like one oscillator that of course receives FM input, so you can use it in the multiple oscillator set and so forth. But this one is a multiple oscillator set with 4 oscillators, and you can change the algorithm of it so that you can arrange which oscillators are carriers, which ones are modulators. It's FM synthesis, folks. So if you're interested in FM synthesis, this will be a good video for you. If you're interested in modeling Sega Genesis sounds, this is the model, the emulator of the system that was used in Sega Genesis and Sega Mega Drive. It was the Yamaha YM2612 chipset. And it's actually a great FM synthesizer. So let's take a look at it. Since we are in episode 9 of series 3, I do want to point out that in episode 8 of series 3, that mini boss module I was talking about, it looks like basically one of the sections of this overall module. This is in fact one module going from right next to my MIDI input right here. This is the master section, oscillator 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the numbers in the background there, and then the audio out. It basically is very similar to the mini bosses. The GUI is a little different in that instead of sliders, there are knobs for the envelope section. And but if you read through all the controls here, and we're going to go through each one, you'll basically see it has all the controls of the mini boss, except for a couple that get shifted over to the master section here. The feedback and the LFO rate is right here. So the LFO rate basically affects all 4 oscillators depending on how much you turn up the AM modulation strength or the FM modulation strength for the LFO input. As far as frequency modulation, modulating the frequency of an oscillator, that's what the whole point is. They basically do that based on how you set the algorithm here. But let me focus in on the first one here. Let me zoom out one more. There we go. Okay, so right now I have the pitch and the gate hooked up to this first oscillator. These cables are hooked up to pitch and gate on the other oscillators, but I have them sitting on these outputs right now, or inputs from MIDI, but I'm not going to be using these, so these aren't really doing anything right now. I just have them here so that later, when I want to assign pitch and gate signals to them, I can just pull them up here. So just ignore the extra cableage for now. I've been having trouble with my mouse lately, as some of you who've been following the series can notice, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to like hook up all the way across the screen. My mouse clicker is on the wane. So anyway, here we go. Here's an initialized patch. Like when you call it up for the first time, this is what it'll sound like. Okay, and we're here in snaps there and artifacts because the envelope is not set well. If we look up here, we once again have attack rate. Now, this really means like attack time, but I guess they're using the term rate because you can, like in the mini boss, loop the envelope, and I'll be showing you that in a moment. That's probably why they use the term rate, but really it is kind of like attack time, and the dial, just like the slider last time, is a little bit, it seems to be backwards, because here you see it all the way to the right. You would think that's all the way up. That would be a longer amount of a time for the attack, but nope. You have to turn it down. You see I turned it down all the way. Get a slow fade in there. I'm going to put it somewhere here. Now we're still getting a snap on the back end. That would be our release rate, which I'm going to turn up by dialing down. So you don't hear the snaps anymore. Of course, if you turn it all the way this way, I'm going to release the key now. And you see there's a pretty long fade tail that you can get off of that. But I'm going to leave it right about there. There are some interesting little sounds that occur around the envelope on this that I think sound pretty cool. It's probably part of the whole emulation. You know, this is probably what that chipset, the YM2612, sounded like. It's envelopes. So anyway, now with the, I said that, you know, you can loop the envelope. Well, you can't with these two settings set the way they are now. This is your delay rate, kind of like your delay time. And when it's all the way to the left, that means the delay is actually going to last. The decay, I said delay again. Decay portion of the envelope is going to last. Basically, you have your attack time with the speed of how quickly the sound comes in. It rises up to the total level, which is like the peak level of the envelope. And then over the decay time, or decay rate, it will then go down to the sustain level, which you can set here. But when this is all the way to the left, it doesn't ever leave the decay portion of the envelope. Until you release the note, it will go to the release. You've heard that. But it's basically skipping sustain. To get it to not do that, you can turn this up. Let's put it in the middle, because there's one other thing we have to do. We need to make sure the sustain level is lower than the top level, because otherwise, you know, as soon as decay finishes, it doesn't reduce any, so you know, you don't hear a change. There we go. That's a pretty quick decay time. As we turn it towards this side, it's longer. And as you turn it to the right, it gets shorter. Okay, so there we hear that decay from the top level down to the sustain level. All right, and with the sustain turned all the way to the left, that means now that our decay is not all the way to the left and it actually has a set rate, it will basically go away after a certain amount of time, go to the sustain level, and it will hold at the sustain level until you release the key and you get the release time. But if you want to loop, that won't work. You got to actually take this and take it at least away from all the way to the left. Now, I didn't release the key. The reason why you heard the note go away was because this wasn't all the way to the left and giving me the indefinite sustain time based on when I release the key. So that means as I turn this up, we're just hearing decay time and hardly any sustain portion. Now we're hearing a little bit of sustain portion there before the release happens. And all those times I was holding the key down longer than you heard the note. You don't see that, but just to let you know that basically now we have set times for the attack, decay, sustain, and release portions of the envelope. My releasing of the key on the keyboard no longer affects it. So if we turn on the loop here, and then I hold the note down, it's basically looping that envelope. Now, if you turn the rate up here, you obviously get to the point where it's initiating the next envelope in this series of repetitions before it completely finishes the end of the previous envelope. Basically, it's repeating them too fast for it to totally execute all these stages at their time settings. So you would probably want to adjust your release time and so forth to the point. Remember, to the right means less. So that way, you know, the envelope can finish before the next one starts. Otherwise, it may get too snappy for you. And this also, the sustain portion of the envelope, will also affect the rate in that as long as you have this rate knob down, when you turn this up, the next repetition will come at the end of the envelope before. So how long you set the sustain for, as well as the other portions of the envelope, will affect how long it lasts. Let's see if we can we can turn up attack, and that slows it down because now the attack time's longer. As long as the rate knob's down, basically it'll go through these time factors according to your settings. A little snappy. Can I get rid of the snap at the end? Not really. Yeah, it seems to be not totally doing the release before the next envelope starts. It looks like your sustain ends up being kind of like your like the last stage of the envelope, really, because it was not adjusting the length of the release there. So I might as well turn that all the way to the right, which means turning it all the way down. But what I can do, turn this all the way to the right so it's all the way down. We really don't have a sustain level right now, just so I don't get confused later, I'll put it here. We're basically attack and decay right now. Oh, and we're not getting... Maybe if I put the sustain all the way down. There we go. We got rid of the snapping. Got some again, but basically you can get to... Well, you get the idea there. Now, so those are your envelope portions. Basically these 6 knobs here. I'm going to turn off the loop. Let's turn you up and give ourselves once again a turn this all the way down. Let's get a good shape for our envelope here and give it a little more release time. I'm still hearing a little dink in the sound there, but I guess that's part of the emulation. Okay, I had to turn the decay time a little bit there. Sounds like some foresty Sega game. Okay. So let's see here what we can do. We do have a frequency knob. I'll show that in a moment when we actually use 2 oscillators. That can adjust your pitch, and whatever pitch you're playing, it'll turn it up or down from that based on how much you are away from its initial value, which is middle C, 261.63 hertz. Okay. But here we have LFO. Oh, no. The labels are above the knobs. Multiple. Basically, this is a multiplier where, just like with the Mini Boss, it's a dial, but it has certain stages. That's 1/2. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And since they're multiples, multiplying times the frequency, and they are whole numbers, 1/2 is not a whole number, but that gives you the octave below. 1 gives you the pitch that you're on, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. They're basically giving you the harmonic overtone series up to 15. Up to 15 harmonics, 14 overtones above the fundamental. But that's a great way to do octave shifting or things like that here. But you do have to be cognizant that, like, if you go up to 3, that's 3 times the frequency number, not 3 octaves up. That's an octave plus a major fifth. Perfect fifth. There's no such thing as a major fifth. Oh, yeah, perfect fifth. All right. So, anyway, here we go. LFO AM. That's amplitude modulation or tremolo. But the speed gets adjusted here. This is sounding a little quiet now. I'm going to turn this up more. But I'm going to be cognizant of the level here because sometimes things can get pretty darn loud. There we go. This is the rate over here in the master section. You can even get some early sidebands there. But the frequency modulation for FM synthesis aspect is using the different oscillators 1, 2, 3, and 4 in conjunction with each other. So this is basically the strength of amplitude modulation, and this is the rate of any LFO modulation. The other one being frequency modulation here, which would be basically vibrato. And I hear a little frequency dancing around there. Oh, there you go. Those are those guys. But as you see, you can't have a different LFO rate for each oscillator. It's the same rate for all the oscillators, but you can adjust what that LFO is affecting in the separate oscillators, whether it's amplitude modulation or FM, and how much, because this is really, they call it LFO AM strength and LFO FM strength. We would typically call that amount, but, you know, the meaning is clear. Okay, so over here we have saturation, which, I don't need LFO, folks. No, we don't. There we go. Saturation over here, which is basically kind of like volume, but I think it's doing more than just volume. Probably affects the tone a bit too. But it is kind of like a volume control. I know that the graininess seems to increase with the level as well. No, it doesn't. No, it's still there. I guess it's more like volume than anything else. Here is the feedback, where, just like with the Mini Boss, this is how you change your tone, and it affects all 4 oscillators. So In the mini boss, I was hearing more of a difference in this region here. Like as I turned this up, the breathiness of the sound increased significantly. Here I just hear a little tinge of stuff here, a little tinge of noise there. You probably don't even hear it if you don't have headphones on. And then right about here, oh, I heard some frequency come in there. Now we're getting tonal changes. Ooh, yeah, there's a spiky frequency there that I remember that from last time. That's in the dog range then, almost, and it hurts my ears. Okay, and there we get a little too much noisiness. How about there? Now you notice I am holding down the key. We are getting this feedback primarily within the attack to decay portion of the envelope. You hear it come in at the rate of the attack, and then you hear it go away at the rate of the decay. So, pretty cool. Now, let's hook up oscillator 2 by doing this. This is our algorithm here. There is an algorithm dial right here to change to these. There are 7 different combinations. And this is indicating by 1, 2, 3, 4, all going down to this point here. It's basically a block diagram saying that all 4 of these are going out. None of them are carrier, they're all carrier oscillators. None of them are modulators going into each other, which you will see in some of the other algorithms. So right now, if I were to hook up oscillator 2, we'd have oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 coming out basically 50-50%. There is, you can mix in here. It does no clear mixer, but if you adjust the total level of these 2 oscillators, you can mix them. And so when that's how they sound together with no changes. They have different envelopes, and you can right click on these and copy and paste values like Control C, Command C in Mac, Control V or Command V in Mac. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on here. Now it's selected. I'm going to hit Control A just to make sure, then Control C. Those would all be Command in Mac. And there we go. I saw it change as I pasted it in. Hit Enter. There we go. So if you want the exact same envelope remember to hit Control A first, because even though it looks selected, it wasn't getting it into the copy buffer. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. If I don't hit Enter, well, this was all the way down for both of them anyway. I didn't need to do that. Last one. Oh, I didn't do it right. Let's just eyeball it. Get it close. There we go. That's about it. And then our sustain level, let's get that about even as well. I mean, you could have them be different if you know what you're trying to do. There we go. And then we could chorus these. You know how I like to do. Let's just subtract 1 hertz from that. Right click on it. And then add 1 hertz to this. So they're both shifted apart by a total of 2 hertz, but each 1 hertz from the center frequency, which is middle C. normal tuning. Now we hear a nice chorusing effect on that. Let me change this tone. Okay, I am going to shorten the release time, not like that. And I'm going to just try a little something here for fun. We need to move you up a little bit. And then let's turn on the loop for one of these. Here. If I turn the sustain level this up, it's not looping. Turn the top level down. Okay, I wasn't able to make anything super interesting there. Thank you for indulging me in trying. Okay, so let's see here. I'm setting them to be similar again. All right, so let's explore some of the algorithms. That's our sound right now. The algorithms are 7 different ones. You can use the dial, but you start on 7 here. That's the one that comes up by default. If I hit 6, now we have oscillator 1 being the modulating oscillator of oscillator 2. So oscillator 2 is our carrier. You don't have to do anything. There's no mix or anything to change it, but it is basically feeding the audio out. Now, if these two were hooked up, 3 and 4, then they would come out too as carriers, not being modulated, but alongside, parallel to oscillator 2. But since I don't have them hooked up, they're not. Let's just work with just these two oscillators. There you go. That's a different sound. And as you see, the FM effect is primarily taking place within the attack and decay portions of the envelope. Let's see, if I turn the sustain level up, the level goes up, but yeah, the frequency modulation still is taking place in the attack to decay portion. Well, not entirely. Because as I adjusted that, you know, the modulation effect really seemed to last there. Let's initialize these. This is our carrier, this is our modulator. So with the modulator, I'm going to change the frequency here. And we can change its amount really with the top level. Almost a clarinet-y type effect there. Yeah, I like that. But I did notice that feedback's effect on the tone, when you're using FM, it's not much, interestingly. I guess there's too much FM distortion to hear this affecting it so much, but when you see I turned it all the way up, that gave me a bit, you know, a desirable sound there. Let's change the frequency here, see what else we get. This is good for sound effects. I've heard that kind of a sound in Doctor Who, like the original series. Sorry about that. I just kept going and hard to stop me. So, yeah. In FM synthesis, the frequency and the amount of your FM oscillator, the modulating oscillator, will greatly affect the timbre. And in having different settings here, you can get quite different sounds. So don't forget the top level knob when working with FM synthesis, because you can explore some pretty interesting sounds with that. And also, it is important here, by me having the gate, the pitch coming in here, the frequency that the modulating oscillator is at does adjust with the frequency of the note you're playing. So when you find a setting that affects the timbre the way you want with the frequency knob, it'll sound fairly consistent throughout the range of the instrument. If I didn't have that, the frequency wouldn't change, and like, let me just hold it for a moment. You hear how pitch gets a little bit wonky. I was just going straight up the keyboard, and sometimes it was really hard to even kind of distinguish the actual pitch being played properly. That's not the case when you actually do have pitch volts per octave hooked up. Okay, so now let's see what happens when we throw in our third and fourth oscillators. In this algorithm, they will be carrier oscillators that are not being modulated, and they will be running parallel with oscillator 2, which is currently our carrier oscillator, but not alone anymore. Okay. All right, so now that is just layering the sound according to whatever its feedback setting is. Although I think in FM synthesis, when you're doing that, it attenuates the feedback's effect, because the feedback was getting pretty noisy when I had it up before with a solo oscillator, and it's not doing that now. So I think it's been attenuated a bit. So we can do some chorusing here with these two. Once again, I'll do a -1, and here a +1. And oscillator 2 is our center frequency, these being shifted up and down a little bit. Let's just turn these top levels down a bit. the modulation, the beating between the two frequencies here adds a little bit depth to the sound. Let me just eyeball and get these envelopes similar here. Oh, incidentally, envelope does also affect your modulating oscillator. We'll play with that in a moment as soon as I get these set to so that our 3 carrier oscillators have a similar amplitude envelope. Not going to be exact, not copying and pasting, but I don't want to take the time to do that. I think I can get it close enough that we can make some decent sounds. And of course, it's polyphonic. I set this to 4-note polyphony, the MIDI. So it is a polyphonic module. Okay, and hear that whoa, 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 whoa. That's the chorusing, the beating of these frequencies being shifted from one another. But yeah, I have the center frequency the loudest, these two quieter. Oh, hold on here. Try something. Oh, hold on. Get some inspiration. I had it and then lost it. Well, never mind. Okay, as I said, not a piano player. All right, so let us try another algorithm here. Let's do 5. Now what we have is we have 1 being a modulating oscillator again, but now it's feeding into 2, 3, and 4. So once again, these are still our carrier oscillators, but all 3 are getting modulated. Yeah. Let me play with this a bit here. Okay, so yeah, let's see if we can work with this envelope. I did mention that before. Have it be a quick attack, which actually is this way. And this is basically the modulation here. So set that, let's reduce the sustain, which actually is this direction. You hear how it's kind of like going away quicker. So you can use your envelope settings here. All right, yeah, the wobble is starting to drive me nuts. So what we're going to do is initialize this. Try putting this down an octave, which actually we can do with this. We still have beating because this is, but we can use a multiplier. But, you know, I mean, when you have a setup like this, you don't have to use all four, or shall we say, all three carriers. You could use two and so forth. The one that was on number 6 is where you could just use one carrier, one modulator. Here you could use 2, 3. I mean, you could just use one on this one as well. But yeah, you don't have to use all of them. Not a requirement. Now here we're going to have 2 modulating oscillators that are 1 and 3, and 2 and 4 are carriers. I'm going to initialize, well, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to initialize the whole thing back to a default state. It did not initialize the algorithm, interestingly enough. And it didn't initialize these. This value is different than this value. Hold on. Did I hit the wrong thing? Yeah, I think I probably did. Sorry, folks. Got to zoom in. Initialize. There we go. Yeah, that's gamey. So let's see here. This and this 1 and 3 are modulators. So it's hard to hear because 3 is also modulated. Well, and I turned the amount down. Let's see. Take this one. There, that's gamey. All right. So that's what you do. You really just work along with adjusting frequencies, adjusting amounts on your modulators, and see what you come up with. Whoa. And I'm going to turn, oh yeah, the feedback got turned all the way down when I initialized. Oh. All right, so anyway, as we go through this journey here, oh, wait a minute. This did get, oh. There. Yeah, I was going to say. Now. This one, we're going to, what the heck? I don't remember changing this. In fact, how about this? And then, if you want to get performance, but I would need like, hold on, I can make this sound cool. I am going to put VCF in the middle there. We're going to get rid of some of those high frequencies that are hiding the formant a bit. I found a nice formant there. kind of a voice sound, if you will. I like when I find those creatures in the frequency spectrum. Let's see if we can get that creature out of there. There we go. Right there. We might be able to get that even clearer with another VCO. And this time, we're going to go into it, come out the high pass. Because I want to get rid of some of those low tones. Now let's turn that up. All right. Well, anyway, I thank you for indulging me with my screwing around. But there you go. There you go. Yeah, some people thought we'd be making some Sega Genesis songs. I got, and I'm here going. All right, but that's me. Anyway, thank you for joining me. If you found this value or interest at all, or helped you get to sleep at night, please hit the like button when you wake up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. I appreciate a lot of the great comments I've been receiving, and at the same time, some of the constructive suggestions and everything are also very useful. So until next time, take care and stay free.